and his topic for today is on automated bare metal provisioning engine. Aman has total 7.5 years of experience and currently working with Infra Cloud Technologies as a senior software engineer. He is a core contributor to Tinkerbell project and is primarily focused on developing solutions around bare metal provisioning. Aman has also contributed in Fission, an open source project related to serverless computing. With that, over to you, Aman. Aman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Aman, go ahead.
I'm sorry, my face. I'm not sure how it just gone up. Yes. Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, Aman, you are audible.
I'm not sure my face is it is looking like in the Zoom. Maybe
Okay, no
some.
worries. You can just share your slides or you can just turn off
Sure.
a video if you're not comfortable with.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's not a
Okay.
problem. Just. So can I wait for a moment?
Yeah, sure. While we wait for Aman to set up his slides up, I request all the audience there, please post your questions and we would ask these questions live. We appreciate asking more and more questions. It would be addressed. So please go ahead and ask questions. Hello, Aman. Uh, are you there? It's okay to start up without video. I mean, you're not audible. Aman, I guess you're muted.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I think my video is much more clearer than before.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll start my session.
If you can quickly share up your screen, that should be good. Yeah.
Just so hi everyone. Oh, my video has gone again. Changed. Okay. So hi everyone. Uh, as introduced by Kavita, my name is Aman, and I have almost 7.5 years of experience. Currently working as a senior software engineer at InfraCloud Technologies. And today, people are talking about Kubernetes, Docker, cloud, and everything. Uh, I will be talking about a bare metal part in this world of the Kubernetes. So the agenda will be very clear. So it's like bare metal. First, we'll talk about some bare metal concepts. What is bare metal? What makes a server? What are the network booting concepts? And then the use case of the bare metals. And then we'll talk about the challenges, right? And then we'll talk about the Tinkerbell, the open source project by Packet team, in which I'm a core contributor, one of the core contributor, and so we'll talk about the Tinkerbell then. So I'll start with my first thing. So this is how when we picturize the bare metal. So this is how it looks like. One the left the left one is like the rack of servers, which is everybody has seen, and the writer most part is Raspberry Pi board. So which is a very small kind of device, which is also used in IoT devices or different things, and the rack of servers is being used in data centers, right? So okay, so what makes actually a server? So for one thing, we need a network. Network means we should have a NIC card, which can be of currently it is of 10 Gbps to 25 Gbps, as far as like, we can support. And the second and foremost important thing is the network should support the IPMI so that we can do a network boot. The second thing is the storage, which is like which should control the RAID part so that data can be recovered if lost. And the third thing is like boot environment. So boot environment is actually something like we should have a boot order in which order we should boot, and we should also support the IPXE and the other things as well. Okay, so we'll talk about is what are the concepts which is being used in network booting. So, as mentioned in the last slide, we required PXE, which is like pre-executable environment, which should be supported uh, by the hardware. And the IPXE is nothing but an extended version of PXE and is also open source. So whenever a device which tries to boot into the network, first it tries to get the IP. So what it does, it actually sends send sends a packet. It actually broadcasts a packet in its private network, so that any of the server which is actually serving the DHCP request get that packet and serve the IP which is asking by the PXE or IPXE like server, which needs to be provisioned or which needs to be booted. The second thing is TFTP. So TFTP actually provide you the initial things, which is like initial file system. Initial file system, I mean the file system which is in memory. So once the reboot process required, or provision process is required, a lot of files, like, not lot of, but few files, for example, and which needs to be handled in a file system. So in the TFTP, you provide few files and a file system as well, which is actually RAM in the in-memory file system. Third thing is NFS. So, for example, if you have a Raspberry Pi board, as I mentioned in this slide, so the right side one, and so the storage in the Raspberry Pi, it comes with a like micro SD card. So if for example, if there is no micro SD card in Raspberry Pi, and still we required files to make it a network boot, so what we can do with the help of NFS, we can uh, mount a directory to a network through a network into a different server, which is actually a provisioner, right? So these are the few concepts which are required for a bare metal provisioning with through network. Okay, so let's talk about the use cases. So today, as everybody is moving towards cloud native things, cloud things. So for me, cloud is a good. It's a bit easy because you need not to worry about anything what is happening inside the server, what is happening inside your layer. For example, if you get a AWS account, you get your like this much of RAM, this much of hard or like uh, memory are required. So you get that account and use it. Provide the cost, and you need not to maintain your data because they provide everything. The data, starting from data integrity to uh, you can say data redundancy and everything. But see, the point is when it comes to data security or when it comes to existing infrastructure, so there are a lot of companies uh, which have existing infrastructures, and so existing infrastructure means they have their own data centers they want to provide as a service, and they are also using for its own purpose as well. And second use case is like data security. So whenever you like buy a server on AWS or Google Cloud or whatever or wherever on a cloud basically, so you are not aware that where is your data actually. Your data is on cloud, but who else is using it? So you are much more concerned about data security. For example, in kind of banks, the data of banks and data of like the people who are holding the account in a particular bank. So usually prefers to be uh, the data inside the bank, not outside the bank, like in the cloud or something. The third thing is latency. So for in the cloud, you actually get the limited amount of latency. So your latency will be limited to an extent. After that, you won't be able to reduce it. And for the fourth thing is the consistent and predictable performance. So again, with the cloud, you will get the limited performance. After that limit crossed, you cannot increase your performance or you cannot predict. Okay, sometimes your performance can be higher. Sometimes your performance will be can be lower with the same workload in cloud. But if you have a bare metal, you can predict or you will have a consistent performance and consistent latency, or maybe the last mile latency you can say is like a zero latency, nothing. So if I talk about challenges, so for bare metal provisioning, for example, if you have a large infrastructure which have thousands of hundreds of servers, and so in that case it's like difficult to manage or difficult to provision each and every server in a different way. uh, and then a different CPU. You also deal with the different CPU. Like sometimes you use Intel x86, sometimes you use ARM64, sometimes IBM also provide some kind of CPU. You can also use that, and you also deal with kind of different OS. For example, out of 100 machines, 50 machines you want to provision in CentOS, and 50 machines you want to provision in Ubuntu. Then you're dealing with a different OS. And the last line is actually important. So increase of control comes with the increase of complexity. So obviously, if you have your own data center, if you have the bare metal inside your office, then obviously you will have more complexity. You will have to manage a lot of things, but that's how the control comes to you. So, but the control is completely up to you, that how much memory you want to use, how much memory you want to increase, how much memory you want to remain or whatever. So increase of control comes with an increase of complexity. So obviously, when your control increases, the complexity will increase, and that's where we there are a lot of there are still there are few or a lot of open source project which provides the open like bare metal provisioning. But here comes the Tinkerbell as a complete solution, right? So Tinkerbell is actually comprises these five microservices. One is Tink, second one is Boots, Hegel, Aussie, and the PBNJ. So as mentioned uh, in the service only, Tink is responsible for provisioning and it works as a workflow engine. Boots is responsible for DHCP, TFTP, and IPXE. Hegel is responsible and provides you the metadata of the hardware, and Aussie is provide you the installation environment as we talk about the init file systems, and PBNJ is actually responsible for power on and power of booting up and the booting control of the system. So PBNJ is a kind of not much of a like use of a service, but yeah, it's a part of Tinkable. So let's talk about the Tink here. Tink, a workflow engine, basically. So there are
15
few
minutes.
components. Hello,
It's already 1:43.
sorry.
But last time it was working or not?
Which one?
This when I saw the screenshot in the group that nodes are up. At that particular time, did we try to deploy some application like Grafana or something?
Yeah, but that working on some Raspberry Pi. We saw that it is working.
See, the EFK that we deployed, are we able to get at least single fault deployed onto the nodes?
1 second.
Yeah. So should I continue? Hello.
Yes, please, Aman, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so as I mentioned, there are five major components. So the Tink is a major one, and everything works around Tink, basically. So you can say that we have a workflow engine which is like called Tink. So Tink has majorly three components. One is Tink CLI, which actually used by the administrator or the user. The second part is Tink server, which is actually a workflow engine, and there's a third part as well, which is Tink worker, which actually runs on a machine which is being provisioned, right? So these are the three main building blocks of a workflow. Like one is a hardware, second one is a template, and third one is a workflow. We will see these things in detail in the coming slides, but with this diagram I would like to uh, like define basically a kind of flow. So in the first step you provide the hardware detail, or you like create a hardware inventory kind of things in the Tink server with the help of Tink CLI. So you provide the hardware details like hardware MAC address, hardware ID, the IP address it is looking for, or it has got the network interfaces, then in the names, the management, and everything about the hardware, right? So in a JSON format, basically. So for example, if you have 50 hardwares in your centers, you can provide all the details, and then that details will be saved inside the Tink server. Uh, and then the second thing is template. So the template is actually the main part here, which actually defines your workflow, that what is your workflow is going to do, right? And the third thing is workflow, which is a combination of template and the targeted hardware. So the best thing here is when you create a workflow, you provide any template. So for example, if you have one template which provisions Ubuntu, if you and second template which provisions CentOS, uh, so what you can do, you can, if you want to provision Ubuntu, you can select the Ubuntu template, and then you can select the targeted hardware. Uh, the MAC address, basically the primary MAC address of targeted hardware, and you can provide that while creating the workflow. And then the fourth part is the fourth step is start the worker. So when you reboot the worker, so worker is already in a IPXE state. So when you start a worker, what it does is it actually first it actually does a broadcast of DHCP that for example give me the IP I'm looking for. So Boots is responsible here for providing the IP, and then Boots is also provides another IP to worker that this is the server you should go to and ask for TFTP and go to and for the files. So which is being served by the Nginx basically. So so Boots also gives the IP address and or the URL of Nginx. Okay, this is the URL. You can go there and you can get the required files for being provisioned. And then fifth is like connect with Tinkerbell server, and then sixth one is so after doing that like fetching the files of TFTP, the Aussie part comes into picture. So Aussie provide all the files through TFTP which is required for being provisioned, like the initramfs or like whatever. And then the sixth part is after getting the IP, after getting the TFTP, like the bootable files or the files which is required for provisioning, it actually talk to the so Tink worker. As I mentioned, there are three part of Tink: Tink CLI, Tink server, and Tink worker. So Tink worker, which is actually present on a private registry, which is actually being hosted on Tink server itself. So then it fetches the Tink server from that private Docker registry, and the Tink worker start running, and the worker then fetches. Okay, so what are the tasks or the actions which are defined in a particular template? Now I need to start those tasks on a particular hardware which is provided there. So we'll look into detail in the next slides. Okay, so this is Tinkerbell. So the control plane, which is like a provisioner. So as I'm talking about the here, so this is like provisioner, which actually contains the Tink server, Boots, Eagle, Aussie, and everything. So provisioner is actually nothing but network. So network server on which all the services of Tinkerbell are running in Docker containers. So as I mentioned, Boots responsible for DHCP, TFTP, Eagle responsible for providing metadata of a machine. Tink server is actually a workflow engine. Tink CLI is a client to interact with Tink server, and Tink server uses the PSQL database, Postgres, to store the data, hardware data, and template and everything. And the registry, which I talked about, is actually a private Docker registry in which the Tink worker and the action images will be stored. What are the action? What are those action images that we'll talk about later in a bit. So yeah, so this is the hardware data I was talking about. So if you can see there, so there are few things like ID. So each hardware should have a unique ID, and then there's a metadata in which we have a facility. For example, where this hardware is located. So we are trying to get rid of this facility part completely. And so in this, so right now the facility is there, which we required facility. But inside the facility, only facility code is required, which you can provide anything, like your company name or whatever. And the plan slug version, you can leave it. You can completely remove that. Uh, this is a bit old, you can say screenshot of the hardware data. And then we have instance, then we have the state of the hardware, and then we have the network, which is the most important part. So in network, we have multiple interfaces. So in a particular hardware, we can have a multiple network interfaces, but a particular interface is actually connected to the private network. So we are talking about the private, the basically the primary primary interface. Okay. So it will have a DHCP as a key, and then it has a details of like what kind of architecture the CPU possesses. In the IP field, it has the address which it is looking for. So when it does the DHCP request, when it broadcasts the DHCP request, it actually says that I am looking for this address. The gateway is nothing but the IP of the network provisioner server and the net mask. Okay, and the next part is MAC. So here is I have just this is like 00000. This is just an example. So here you need to provide the actual MAC address of your network interface, and then the UEFI is actually false since we boot into uh, BIOS first, and then we make it true, and then we do the UEFI boot. And then there's a netboot part. So there are two things, which is allow PXE, which is true, and which you have to make it true if you want to do a IPXE or network boot. And then the second part is allow workflow. So after doing a PXE, it actually runs a workflow, as I mentioned, which should also be true in case of the hardware data. So this is the minimal hardware data that is required to be saved inside the database for a particular hardware. So if you have like 50 different hardwares, so you will have this 50 different JSONs which will be stored in the database in the Ting server. So the next thing is so workflow definition. So this is nothing but a YAML based Go template. So it has different fields, like first is version. So version we have put in here for backward compatibility. For example, in future we have a different support of different thing which is supported in this YAML, then the version will change, but still we will have a backward compatibility. So if anybody wants to use the 0.1 version, then he or she can use it. And then the name of the template. So what it does is, so this is Ubuntu provisioning, and then we have a global timeout, which is in seconds by default. So it is like 6,000. So 6,000 seconds. It means like all the tasks present here, or all the actions, task and actions present here should be completed in the 6,000 seconds. Otherwise, the workflow will get timeout. Then there's a task, and the task under the task there are different actions. So first we have a task name. So task is like OS installation, or you can say the provisioning. And the second part here is you should look closely at the second part, which is like worker and dot device one. So this is something that we can change, but should be synced with the creation of workflow. We'll look into this later. So, and then the volumes which is being mounted. So actually each action will run in a particular Docker container. So the volumes which are there in the task will be mounted in each and every action of that particular task, and the environment variable as well. So the volume support is there at the task level, and the volume support is there at a action level as well. For example, if you want to mount a particular uh, derive or particular device or particular directory for a
Hey,
particular
Aman,
action.
sorry to interrupt. Like you just have shortage with time. You have 5 minutes. If you can quickly wrap up.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Thank you.
Sure. So this is like so this is the basically workflow template. So as I mentioned, so this is the creation of workflow. So first is like so this is the first thing is nothing but a Docker exec deploy Ting CLI one. That is mean we are actually going into the Ting CLI Docker, and then running this command Ting hardware push the hyphen data JSON, and then this one, and then so then we first we push the data of hardware as mentioned, and then we create a template, which I said this is a kind of template which we create. So in the template, we should have a name. The name should be unique per template and the path of the template file. And then we have a workflow. So this is like think workflow create hyphen T is actually a template UID. So once you create this template, you will get a UID of the particular template. So you can provide that UID here and then hyphen R and then device one and then the MAC or IP address of a particular hardware. So as I mentioned here is the worker is device one. So if you change this to worker one, you should also provide here worker one, not the device one. So this is a flexible thing which we have provided to user the whatever the user wants to use it, whatever worker one, device one, hardware one, whatever it is, and should provide the MAC address. So now I will quickly jump to the demo. So I have few links here at tinkerbell.org. So if you will go to that link, so there are setup. So there are two kind of setup. One is packet with Terraform and another one is local with Vagrant. So packet is only for the users which have the packet authentications or the packet basically packet buyers. But we will use here the local with Vagrant. So I am here is, so as you can see, I am already on my Vagrant. I have already created a provisioner through Vagrant, and as you can see, if you will, is it visible or should I? So yeah, so as you can see that we have the service running, which is like Tink CLI, Boot, Seagull, Server, Nginx, DB, and registry, right? So what we can do is now, so now we will do the exec in the CLI, and then we will first check. So this is the hardware detail that we have for a particular MAC address. So this setup is created with the Vagrant with the VirtualBox VMs. So this is a provisioner VM, and then we will check. So I have already inserted the templates. So this one is a sample template that we have listed. So if you do template get, so this is a template. So this is a there's a task which is called sample task. There's an action which is sample action, and then it does nothing, but it does the hello world on the worker. So the advantage of Tinkerbell is it does a lot of things except after the provisioning. Like if you can also deploy a Kubernetes server, Kubernetes deploy. You can do a Kubernetes deployment on the same server from the scratch, right? So if I go with the workflow, so currently there's a workflow which I had created. So let's check the state of the workflow. So if you can see the state of workflow is there is success, right? So what I will do is I will just delete this workflow and create a new one. So now there is no workflow. So as I mentioned in my slide, in hyphen T, you will provide a template, which is template ID, which is this one. And then in the hyphen R option, which is like targeted hardware, you can provide device one and then the targeted MAC. This will create a target workflow. So you can get the workflow as well. So as you can see in the template, the device one has been replaced with the MAC address of a part of the hardware which is provided by the creation of workflow. So now I will create another VM with the same with this MAC address on the another screen. So you can say a Vagrant file here. So and the Vagrant file is also there. So I think this would be more preferable to you. So as you can see that I'm defining a worker with the MAC address, which is same which I have provided here.
Hey, Aman,
So
you're
yeah,
running short of time.
just a minute, just a
Okay.
minute, Savita, just a minute. So I'm just what I'll do is I will first vagrant destroy. So I will first destroy the current worker if any, if there is any. Okay, so there is no worker. So what I'll do is I'll do vagrant up worker hyphen provider toolbox. So my worker will boot into Alpine first, and then it will run the workflow, which is like the hello world. So hello world is nothing but a Docker image which I have pulled from the Docker hub and inserted in my Docker registry. So as you can see that the machine first will start. So now it is looking for an IP. So it has sent the DHCP request. It has got the IP 1.5, 1.5 here, and now it is looking for the TFTP files. So there are a few TFTP files like VM Linux x86 initram fs, which is being downloaded from the provisioner server. And here the Aussie comes into picture. As you can see that it is being served one 192.168.1.2. Uh, so now it has started its uh, provisioning process or like installation of like Alpine right now. So in the same fashion, we can also create our own workflow in which we can have some common things like whenever you do a OS installation, you do a disk wipe, disk partition first, and then you install the rootfs, then you install the grub files. So you can create the Docker image of each and every action, and then you can provide the same for in the under a particular task, and then you can run that workflow, and then the worker machine will be rebooted or the provisioned with the particular grubs or particular like OS, whether it's Ubuntu or CentOS. And you can do a post installation part, so you can have another task in the same uh, template file in which you can do some post installation, post OS installation things like installing some software, deploying a Kubernetes server or whatever.
Hello. Thanks,
So
Aman.
yeah, as you can see that this is has like booted. I think my system got hanged up.
Hi, Aman. If speakers are waiting, if you can just take this offline, that should be good. Yeah.
Yeah, fine, definitely.
Okay. Thanks, Aman, for driving us, deep into the insights
Yeah. So just the
and
last thing,
enabling
I
us,
would,
to drive and make how we can provision Tinkerbell for making our servers to be used at its best. Thanks again,
yeah,
Aman. Thank you so much.
sure.
Any question for Aman, you can reach out to him directly. And also, we still have the session ongoing, so you can just ping the questions to him and he would be happy to answer those. Thank you so much, Aman.
Yeah, definitely. And I would love to suggest that you should go to tinkerbell.org, where you will find everything about the Tinkerbell and all the things. And there are a few community things which people have done definite very good, very useful things. That one is Tinkerbot, one is Tinkerbell portal. So Tinkerbot is nothing but is a CL, basically an application which can attach to Slack. So you can directly talk to Slack about your Tinkerbell state. And Tinkerbell portal is nothing but a user interface to create hardware or template or workflow. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Aman. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.